This is Emily Jones from the Texas Rangers, and you're listening to the Fanatic podcast with Alex Plank.
What's going on, Rangers Nation? It's Alex Plank with Dallas Sports Fanatic, and this is the Texas Rangers Fanatic podcast, episode 22. We are legally to drink, and coincidentally today is National Margarita Day. This was completely unplanned, but hey, you know what? I don't have a margarita with me, but I got one on standby. I think after everything that's going on, I think we all need.
I would have had one ready if I knew.
Somebody told me, so I was like, oh, okay, because National Drink Wine Day was last week, which I did have a glass of wine. There we go. I am joined by the new MLB.com reporter for the Texas Rangers, Miss Kennedi Landry. Kennedi, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I feel like this is kind of an interesting introduction into the world of covering a team that is, let's be honest, in a rebuild, but I feel like it's got to be a weird experience because you're meeting all these people and you're not really meeting all of these people. It's just like, oh, I see your face, but I don't know what you look like 2 feet in front of me.
No, yeah, I think that's definitely the weirdest part about starting a beat during the pandemic. Starting any job during the pandemic, even in general, I haven't met any of my coworkers in person. I haven't met any of the people who are on the beat in person, and I haven't met any of the players, the managers, or the coaches or anybody. So that's definitely like the weirdest part, just because in sports and reporting in general, like just building a rapport, talking to people, small talk, like weird, like low-key conversations are like such a big part of what we do as journalists, and not being able to actually like meet these people and see these people is super weird.
Have you ever gone to the new park at any, I mean, obviously you only have had 2 years to even when it's in construction in the last year, but just by any chance?
No, absolutely not. I've only been to 3 or 4 MLB parks actually, and Globe Life Park or Field is not one of them.
Okay.
So I'm excited to go to a new park. I'm glad it has a roof, so I don't have to deal with those Texas summers. As somebody from Louisiana, I know heat and I know humidity, and it's not fun.
Yes.
So I'm glad there's a roof on that thing now, and I'm excited to, like I said, see the park, hang out. It's been almost exactly a year since I've covered a live sporting event, so I'm just really excited to see baseball in person again.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, a live sporting event, I think it gotta go. I mean, I guess last year, like for the games themselves, I don't know if that actually counts, but being able to like be face to face with players and coaches, I think it's going to be close to about 12 months. The last XFL game was the last one for me. The New York Guardians beating the Dallas Renegades. We won't talk about that because that was pretty bad. But if we're going on the basis of last games covered, but you did cover for LSU, correct?
Yes, that was the last place I was at before everything shut down. I think it was an LSU midweek baseball game against, I want to say UAB, University of Alabama at Birmingham. It was that Wednesday night of the Rudy Gobert shut down. That's where I was when it happened, and I just remember like I was sitting next to a radio guy in the press box, and I was like, I think something's happening at the NBA game, and he was like, what? And I was like, I don't know, like they just like Rudy Gobert did something, like I think he might have tested positive for like that thing, and they were like, because like we didn't really know much about it at this point, so it was just like we just didn't know what to do. And the next day LSU was supposed to be leaving to start SEC play at Ole Miss, and we were doing a media availability outside of Alex Box stadiums, and Coach Paul Mainieri was just like, okay, guys, get your bags off the buses. And like the media is just standing here, and you just see all the players like take their bags off the bus and like go back to the clubhouse. And we were like what's happening? And next thing you know, the SEC shuts down. NCAA tournament, the SEC basketball tournament in Nashville shuts down, and then it was like a domino effect. I mean, we all know what that week was like. But that last day, LSU won a midweek baseball game, and let me tell you, there's nothing I hate more than midweek college baseball. I love baseball. I love college baseball. Midweek college baseball is the most agonizing experience of my life, and the fact that that was the last thing I did before the world shut down hurt my heart.
I feel like any midweek college, like even college football, when it's on, it's like, and then on Tuesdays when you get what, like MAC games or like Sunbelt games.
We love MACtion, Sunbelt, Funbelt.
I didn't even know they had like names for that.
Oh yeah. We're deeply entrenched in college football here, obviously in Louisiana with LSU and everything, and ULL Louisiana.
ULL was.
They're in their Sunbelt Fun Belt, like I said, and MACtion's some good shitty college football. It's great. Like, it's just like entertaining. It's not good, like fundamentally sound football. Like, it's very different than watching the SEC, but it's very entertaining.
I gotta say, like college basketball, when I look at conference tournaments, like SEC, Big 10, Big 12, it's those mid-major college basketball finals that like you tune into. Like, I'm just thinking like the Patriot League, Sunbelt finals, like those are the ones that you glue your eyes to, just because you know that there's so much more at stake. I have a feeling that that's why everybody tunes in so much. But like, I don't know about you, but those are fun. And then of course the NCAA tournament, which is coming up next month, and so glad that they're actually playing. Despite it, yeah, I know. Now it's pushed to like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, which is a little odd, but yeah, everybody could get drunk a day later, but okay. Why not? But let's kind of dive into for the Texas Rangers. So I don't need to sugarcoat it. Last year was bad. The team 22-38. I will say this is that they did lose a lot of close games. They had like a bulk, like 75 to 80%. I don't have the actual math in front of me, but it was a pretty high percentage of games where they lost by 4 or fewer runs. And I think one of the things I'm curious on is that when you evaluate, like second worst record in baseball, but when you have that much, or when you're in so many close games, do you feel like that maybe changes the perspective on a season? And you could maybe even use this in any sport too, where if you're constantly losing close games, how do you look at that?
I mean, I think personally, like when you evaluate like the wins and the loss bracket, a loss is a loss, a win's a win. I mean, that's how I personally view it. I'm sure that's how the front office views it as well. But I mean, when you look at however many close games it may or may not have been, I think that's when you have to think, like, are you missing like one piece? Is this, one run here, one run there, like a double play here, like a put out there that like that'll change, the entire perspective of the game. And I know so many players have talked about it this year, is that the shortened season didn't give them enough time to get into a groove, or if you got into a slump, then like that was it. Like your slump was a slump, and if you were hot at the right time, like you were hot, but if you were slumping, then that kind of sucked because you didn't have time to get out of it. So I think, last year, I strayed away from all sports this year saying like, oh, it doesn't count because things were so weird, XYZ. I don't ever want to say that, but I think, some teams might need to, you take a mulligan on that, when you look at like Joey Gallo said today, he was slumping, and that was just because he couldn't get into a groove. And pitchers have said that. I think Kyle Gibson said that last week, that, he just couldn't get into it. And like 60-game season, shout out to the Dodgers for winning it all, but they were hot at the right time, and that's how this works. Baseball, it's a very streaky game, and that worked out for them. It didn't work out for everybody, and I think that's kind of how you do have to evaluate it, and hope you got those few pieces that you needed to get over a hump where you lost by 1 to 3 runs or something.
I think also that played into their mind a lot, being, I would think going into July and being like, oh my gosh, we have 60 games. If I go into a slump, like even just mental aspect, then that's going to toy around. And for a starter too, like you make one bad start and that costs you it's almost impossible to get, because you lose about 1/3 of your 2/3 of your starts.
Right.
Pretty much. So I think going into the season, I think that played into a lot of it. And coincidentally, the team started getting hot in the last series of the season against Houston. Coincidentally, in 2019, same thing. Last homestand, offense got clicking. So on the other hand, it could play into the fact of why is it taking so long to get these guys going? And, I don't know how spring training is going to go. Maybe these guys will be more pumped up and maybe, I think the good point, lack of video, in between at bats, and that could play a part. I don't know. I think this year is going to be a big test on there, but I don't know. Like, I feel like there's certain pieces that are missing, but I think when you look at the roster, there's a lot of potential.
Oh, definitely. I personally I see so much potential, and potential is such an abstract concept because it's just like, if you don't reach it, doesn't even matter kind of thing. But this roster really does have so much potential. And when I was making my own predictions for an opening day roster the other day, and I was like, the only real position that I'm really worried about right now is third base. I think that's pretty much across the board. I think almost everybody can be like, what is going on? What's going to happen there, honestly, with Josh Young?
I think we know what's going to happen in the future. The question is, how do you get to that
right
point?
now?
Right.
And, and kind of the starting pitching too, outside of those top three that Woody has pretty much designated the top three starters. But I think third base is a very weird position right now, and they're in such a weird position with Josh Young still getting some seasoning in AAA or wherever he ends up to start the season. And that makes it kind of difficult. But, are they going to win? They might have 100 losses this year, honestly, maybe. And I think that's just, the front office has said, JD and CY have all said, we're pretty much looking at 2022 and beyond. And that doesn't mean they're punting this season away, but I think the season's such a marinating kind of thing. See what happens, see what happens next year in free agency. I think that's going to be really important. And hope the guys this year kind of click when you look at Kiner and hopefully David Dahl and Leody Taveras can do some things in the outfield. Chris Davis might get some pop back, XYZ, and hope that works out going forward.
I think it's interesting because you can have a 100 loss season. It doesn't sound crazy, but you can have a 100 loss season and it not be a lost cause. Yes, the standings are going to look bad. So I think in the end, if you at the end of the year, if Josh Young plays in the big leagues, makes his major league debut, and I think if you have those positions settled, because you're going to have third base, you got Kiter at short, second base, it'll be between Odor and Solak, see where Solak's going on there. First base, I feel like first base is really interesting because you don't know what Ronald Guzman has. The defense is spectacular, but at some point you just got to say, look, offensively, it's just not getting it done. And then maybe you look for a deal. Left field, if David Dahl is, if he shows up the 2019 David Dahl, that's fantastic. You've got Leody Taveras, and then you have Joey Gallo. And it's real interesting because is Joey Gallo going to be in a Texas Rangers uniform on August 1st? And I've been fumbling with this because on the one hand, the easy solution is yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even think he's reached his prime yet.
No, I agree. And I think both sides are kind of in agreement at some point, where I think if he wants to stay and they kind of also want to keep him, I don't think they're going to go out of their way to deal him unless it's for, Trevor Story.
Do you go that same route and just like, I like to call it is they were, in like fishing, you put the bait on the hook and then you see if somebody will take the bait. Nobody did.
Right.
So do you do that same thing, or do you like physically, and I think it's going to come down to, with Scott Boras being his agents, do you get a hometown discount? I mean, he's vocally said he wants to be a Texas Ranger.
Right.
Do you utilize that to your advantage? You recruited David Dahl. My guess is that you want them together.
He wants his friend. He got his friend here. Like, I mean, he went out of his way.
Don't split your best friend. Don't split up your best friends.
Like, again, like I said, I think he wants to be here, and I think maybe last season what he did at the plate. Obviously, he's a Gold Glove winner. He's pretty much almost flawless, defensively. But at the plate, that brought down his trade value a bit anyway. And I think, maybe his stock goes up this year if he, brings the batting average up to 250 or ish, around that, hits a ton of home runs or something. But again, I think they want him here, and I think he wants to be here. And I think it's got to be a pretty good deal if you're gonna deal away your star.
And that's the thing with Elvis Andrus' case. You knew that he wasn't going to be part of the future. So I think they did what they had to do. And I think, it was a good gesture in sending him over to a contender in Oakland where he has a lot better shot to play in his natural position. Because,
right.
Let's face it, nobody wants to be told, hey, go play a different position that you really haven't ever, and in Elvis's case, has never played in the big leagues before.
And they didn't give him a shot to even win it back.
Right.
They more or less just said, no, this is Isaiah's now. So
this kind of,
which I respect as, like, from the front office. I respect them even telling him that up front and not, sugarcoating it. But obviously that's got to make Elvis feel some type of way.
And unfortunately, I like the message too to the whole organization. It's like, look, seniority doesn't matter. You perform, you get that spot. On the other hand, unfortunately, Elvis got the short end of the stick when it comes to that. And I guess, like I said, like, what did I say last week? It's like that relationship where that eventually you two are going to have to break up. And so it gets sad when you know that time has come, but you want what's best for your partner. So I think that's kind of what happened there. It's like, look, Elvis, there's not really a spot. Let's send him to Oakland. And that's one of the home games I'm really excited about when the A's come to town that first time.
No, definitely. Especially
with fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have fans. Not sure how much yet. I'm not really sure what Texas state regulations are. I know here in
do whatever the hell you want to do. That's Texas state regulations.
In Louisiana, not much better than Texas usually when things like that. But we've got pretty much a 25% cap on sporting events. So, there will be a good bit of fans in there, I'm sure, and I think it'll be nice. And they did get fairly good return for him. So
yeah, I'm seeing how Heim's going to turn out behind the plate regarding how that's going to go. And the catching depth on this roster is amazing.
You've got some really good catching depth, honestly, especially just, Trevino getting the start with, obviously Huff is.
It's funny because I was like, today I had like a moment where I was like, oh, that's right. Sam Huff is on the roster too.
Right. And, he's going to start in AAA, but it's still like, it's crazy to think about that, you have Trevino, who's, a solid, really great defensive catcher and solid at the plate. And then, Jonah Heim coming up, probably backing him up. And those are two good catchers. And then you still have Sam Huff as your number 2 prospect on MLB Pipeline. Like there are worse situations to be in.
Do you think they may utilize one of those guys as trade bait to maybe get at a different position that they can enhance on?
I would do that.
I'm trying to think of age-wise. Are they about the same age, Huff and Heim?
Huff is 20. No, wait. Heim's 26. Huff is like 23. 3.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of like time frame. Like if they both come up at around the same, if they both come up at around the same time, and then you have Trevino, and then you add the veteran presence. I know Drew Butera is not going to be too long, but I think that kind of is another good addition to kind of ride the Jeff Mathis train of veteran presence. And say what you want about Jeff Mathis's production skills as far as the plate goes, but I'll tell you what, Jeff Mathis would be a great coach. And I think he's got a positive WAR too, overall. And considering his offensive numbers, that tells you what his defense is.
That's pretty good, honestly. I wouldn't have guessed that, honestly.
That's what he's like, is like Jeff Mathis has a positive WAR, and it's like, okay, you're just taking defense? No, overall.
Okay.
So I think the Rangers got a lot out of there in the past 2 years. So wish the best for Jeff Mathis. I don't even know where he is, but wish him the absolute best. Somebody's going to sign him. If he's not already signed, somebody's going to sign him just to pick his brain.
I don't know where he is, or because he wasn't even on the roster when I was hired, so it just wasn't somebody that
they just didn't. Yeah, they just didn't tender his contract. But yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great addition, and that's why I was like, Phillies
minor league
JT Remuto,
and he's in big league spring training. So
sweet. Backup JT Remuto. No, I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's
yeah. Again, worst places to be.
Oh yeah, Philly. Yeah, good luck in Philadelphia. So, when you look at up and down this, and I don't want to like reveal too much because I know, like you said, you have predictions coming up, so I don't want to reveal too much. But when you look at the pitching staff, I mean, you can have, how many combinations can you have? I mean, it's evident with Gibson,
right,
and Arahara, and then Fultonevich, which we might as well quiz everybody. Can you spell can everybody spell that?
Every time I have to write his name in a story, I just put Fulte, and then I go back to command and replace it with
you just go to Google, type in his name, or and it pops up, and then just copy and paste.
Yeah, no, I not actually.
That's a new fan game. Just walk up to fans. Can you spell Fultonevich?
Yeah, no, I can't. But actually, since you brought him up, I'm kind of worried about Fultonevich. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I know reports from when he threw at Georgia Tech in the offseason that, his velocity looked like it was back up. JD said the same thing. And I mean, we haven't seen him throw. I'm going to take their word for it, but I'm worried if the same thing that happened last year happens again, and he comes out to throw like a third of an inning and, gives up 12 hits and 4 walks or something obnoxious. That's dramatic. I don't want to put that energy into the air, actually. But I'm worried about what happens and where the Rangers go if his velocity is not back up where it was in 2018-19.
And the problem is, when you look at the rotation, while you have a lot of options, who do you really have that can give you 7 innings? Can even give you 6, give you 5 innings? You have a lot of good arms that have potential, but you have a lot of long relievers. Exactly.
And I mean, that's the hardest part of this for me. And Woody has said it's probably not going to be a traditional rotation this year. Right. And I think we all kind of accepted that. And nobody threw any type of innings last year with the shortened season, except for Arihara, I guess, because of him being in Japan. But I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I'm looking at the bullpen, the depth chart right now.
And then with Arihara, an extra day of rest may be needed for him. So even when you're looking at the traditional, and you go with the 6-man rotation, but then I tell you, the bench is going to be very thin. And for an American League team,
I think they're going to need another pitcher.
And for an American League team, you don't really need too much of a bench depth. I mean, you need one catcher, and with the versatility that a lot of guys have, you could probably insert, and that's why I feel like it's going to get real interesting on some of these competitions. First base, Chris Davis and Willie Calhoun, however you want to insert those.
That's a very interesting point, is the Chris Davis, Willie Calhoun thing is going to shake things up a bit. Mostly because I believe that, I think the outfield's going to end up being David Dahl, Leody Taveras, and Joey Gallo. I think, like, I know there's competition everywhere, blah, 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 but I just think that's the best defensive outfield, the Rangers have.
And then you utilize Willie Calhoun as far as DH goes mostly, and then you can even insert Calhoun if Joey needs a half day off, or if Dahl needs a half day off, you can utilize that. And Dahl's plays center field at Globe Life Field. So if Leody needs a half day off or a day off completely, could insert David Dahl in center field. I don't, other than Nick Solak, I don't know if they have any other like major center fielders that.
No, I think Woody did say one day if anybody would slide into center field, it would be David Dahl. In whatever situation, however that may or may not play out, if there needed to be, or if they needed to get all four of those bats in the lineup, maybe Leody isn't quite ready, something like that. I think Dahl would probably be the one to slide into center, which, like you said, he's played center at Globe Life before. Had the first hit at Globe Life, I did find out.
And had a 3-hit game on opening day too. I'm sure everybody remembers that. When I recall him playing in center, he played pretty good. I think he had one ball that he kind of misjudged that coincidentally turned into a Jeff Mathis triple. Jeff Mathis tripling. I don't know what's more surprising.
Totally saw that one coming.
But other than that, I mean, I'm not like a center field expert, but I thought he was fine. So I think if you have to insert there for one game, because I don't think you want to put Joey Gallo there, because too much went through that 2019, too much toll on the body. Don't want to, especially if you're trying to get him right offensively. I think to stick him in one spot and just see what he can do, especially you don't want to move a Gold Glover out of their position, except if you're Isaiah Kiner-Falefa,
who moved out of his Gold Glove position, but if that's what.
But do you think that he won the Gold Glove solely based on third base, or do you think that shortstop had a little bit of help in there too? So how do I evaluate that?
I don't know what his game by game breakdown was in terms of how many he played at each position or anything, but I mean it's listed as a Gold Glove at third base. That's what it's listed as, and I think am I supposed to be the one voting on that next year? I feel like I should know.
I'm putting you on the spot. Hey, good news. I'm not putting you on the spot regarding there. But yeah, if you're voting on somebody, are you voting them just based on how they played at that position? Or are you voting them based on how they played defensively?
Well, I'm thinking that when you think of somebody like DJ LeMahieu, who played like 3 positions in one season and has won a Gold Glove, I'm pretty sure one of his Gold Gloves was just at like one position. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, don't quote me on that. That's just what I'm remembering off the top of my head. And the only other person who I can think of who's been super versatile in multiple positions at a high level in recent years, LSU alum. Just throwing that out there. But I don't know, actually. That's, like I said, I mean, that it's listed as Gold Glove third base. So
that would be interesting if he won Gold Glove at short to win back-to-back Gold Gloves in 2 separate positions back-to-back years.
Never happened.
I don't know. You got to get a guru on there to see.
Somebody, I could probably ask stats people at work. Somebody.
Yes. There we go. But hold it on standby until it happens.
Okay, just in case it happens.
Just in case, then you have it on standby. And then when it actually happens 1 minute later, you can be like, oh, this is the first time. And then you seem like a genius. Because it's like, wait a minute, she couldn't have contacted them. So she had to know that off the top of her head.
Genius.
I take full credit for that. That's why you prep for everything. Or then you slip it my way, and then we both look like geniuses.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'll CC you.
It's a collaborated effort.
Absolutely.
So going back as far as the rotation goes, and so it's pretty evident Gibson's going to get the opening day nod. Unless do you see any way somebody else does?
I mean, I don't think I do. I think that's more or less been pointed out. Like this is what we're going to end up doing, and I think Arihara, there's just how his game ends up translating to the major league game. I don't think you want to send him out opening day and potentially get lit up or something.
The only reason I would say maybe is that you have an off day the day after. That could be, that's the only thing I'm thinking of.
Right. And I mean, I already said my issues with Fulte, and just looking at who you have, then you have, if you want to send Kyle Cody or Taylor Hearn out for like 2 innings, I just don't think they're going to do that opening day. I think Dane Dunning has the ability to go, deeper into games than a lot of the other pitchers on the staff. But I know Woody did say that they were kind of putting an innings limit on him this season. I think he had Tommy John a couple years ago and just getting back to form. But I think he could have the ability to go a little deeper. I'm again not sure where they're capping him at when that comes about.
Not giving it a number.
Right.
We've tried.
Yeah. So I think we're just going off vibes there or something. I don't know. Maybe that's what I would do as a manager, but like you said, I don't really know looking at this rotation exactly how it's going to play out. And I think Kyle Gibson's a no-brainer for opening day. I would honestly say that.
And pitching at Kauffman Stadium where he's used to, so I think that also works to his advantage. I think he's actually had great success at Kauffman Stadium. I might have to look this up, but probably the best AL Central park he's pitched in outside of Target Field. Out of the 4, I don't even if that's wrong, then I'll take full responsibility. But I could have sworn I think Houston was the best place he's pitched in his career, and then I think Kauffman Stadium's number 2. This is going based on my September memory, so it's a good choice then.
No, yeah.
And then I think you go maybe Arihara number 2, or if you want to go Fultonevich 2, I think that's maybe interchangeable.
Yeah, I don't think they have a set, 1 and 2 there. I think the depth chart has Arihara listed above Fulte. I don't think that's set in stone by any means of the word, though.
So do you think 7 months from now, do you think any of the other guys that are in those half roles, do you think any of them get stretched out enough to where they could actually go a full start? And I would probably classify full start as 5-6 innings.
I mean, I could see, a couple of guys falling into that role. I know. I think Woody did mention a couple of guys are going to be on innings limits, and I don't remember exactly who those guys were. Like I said, I think Dane Dunning, who could go definitely further into the game. I think Kyle Cody could. I think he was one of the names that was mentioned on an innings limit, though. And I think Colby Allard is also a really interesting name there when you look at, what he's done in the last couple of years, and hopefully he can, control some things and can go deeper into innings, into games, more innings, XYZ. And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the depth chart, and it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see in how they piece things together this year. And I think a lot of clubs are having that problem this year, just in terms of the innings count and coming off the shortened season. You're just not sure who can do what, especially with some younger guys who's never had to pitch 162 games. Well, they're not pitching 162 games. You're just play through 162 game season and, have 150 plus innings in a season, and how that affects their arms and shoulders and elbows and all of that. So I'm very interested just to see how they piece things together, because I think we can talk for hours about if we do this option, if we go a 6-man rotation, if we do if we piggyback things, or if we just, put everybody out for like 3 innings at a time, like we can talk for years about it. And opening day is going to come around and Woody's going to do something completely different that we haven't even thought about.
I think it's real interesting, because I think overall the plan is you got to ask yourself, because like you said, they're thinking about 2022. So
Right.
Who can we stretch out or get ready? Who's going to be in our future? And I think
Right.
you look at that and say, okay, this person, and Jordan Lyles could be another option because he has
About him, yeah.
has the length, but he wasn't too effective last year. But again, if you're looking for innings eater, he may be an option that you can utilize. So that could be an instance where I think Lyles does make the roster, because you need somebody that can give you those innings. And so when you look at, now you're down to like 3 or 4, and then I think you do like a piggyback on 1. Piggyback on 2 is going to be tough because again, roster spots would be
Right.
limited. But you bring in a guy, you need a long relief man, so maybe you just put in 2 long relievers. And I'm just literally kind of going down the line and thinking about, if you go who you want next year and who you want in the year future, I think those are the guys you start. It was interesting talking on Saturday because Joe Palumbo is real interesting. The vibe I got is they want him as a long relief man, but I thought to myself, you know what, the stuff he has could be closer ability. And I know when you talk about closers, you got Leclerc and you have Jonathan Hernandez. And look, Palumbo's got a ways to go till he gets fully back healthy. And I think where they feel confident in pressurized situations. But do you maybe see that as a possibility?
Yes.
A power lefty that has the ability
Right.
to get lefties out. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think maybe deeper into the season, I could see that happening. I don't think they would do that out the gate at all.
No.
But I agree, he's a real hard throwing lefty. And as somebody who watched an LSU baseball team pitch without a lefty for 3 years straight, I'm a big fan of lefty pitchers just because that makes everybody so much versatile in terms of how you utilize the bullpen. And you mentioned Leclerc and Hernandez, who I think are probably the 2 most likely options for a closer spot. Things are kind of,
which according to Woodward, closer spot is kind of a term that you just push aside.
Yeah. So do with that what you will. But I think Palumbo is very interesting. I also think he can probably eat up a few innings, here and there if needed. I think, he's a little older, can go a little deeper than some of the younger guys, like maybe Taylor Hearn, Wes Benjamin, some of the stuff like that. I think he's a very interesting player. I think going into this season, he's one of the people who I think we should all be looking out on.
I almost feel like on opening day, you have your list of pitchers and you have your rotation, and then it's almost like compare notes on the final game of the season and see how it goes and how vastly different, because I feel like it's going to be all chaotic throughout, and how many guys will get, and not necessarily there won't be as many, I don't think, major league debuts, but you're going to have, as far as players used, I feel like you're going to really utilize that a lot. And again, whether pitchers stay healthy or not, that's going to be curious, because they didn't get the full workouts in. So I think that's one thing, but I don't know. I mean, I would say for Rangers fans, like to watch it every day, to see these pitchers and the abilities that they have. Yeah, there's going to be some rough ones, but I think just seeing how they just like in and out, the stuff that they have, because I think they, when they're at their top A game, it's going to look fantastic.
No, I definitely think this is a good time for Rangers fans, or even people who kind of don't have a team, to just like hop on the bandwagon, because this is a a very young team, and like we talked about earlier in the pod, like has a lot of potential. And if you hop on now, watch some of these guys when they're young, watch as they develop and hopefully reach their prime in 2 or 3 years. I think that'll be very, very rewarding for any fan. And as a reporter, I just think this is a great team to a great time to come into this team. Honestly, a lot of young guys, people who are close to my age.
Me too.
There we go. So I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be really interesting just to watch how some of these players really grow. And, when you get some of those guys from AAA and like we said, Josh Young, Sam Huff, all of those guys, and see how they can perform on a major league level. It'll be really interesting. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
You mentioned DeMarcus Evans, who's hurt, and the whereabouts he has, and just
Right.
when he gets healthy. But yeah, I mean, Brett said, if you bandwagon now, when the team gets successful down the road, nobody will get pissed at you for being a bandwagoner.
Right, exactly. And
there you go. Go early.
I think it's perfect. When you have, baseball is not like basketball where you have one team who would just end up dominating for years straight, and we don't have a Tom Brady in baseball. So
we have a sore subject coming from a Saints fan.
Yes, I'm sore. It's fine. I'll admit it. But no, yeah, I think baseball is like a perfect sport to just grab onto a team, have some fun. I know the Dodgers are like far and away the favorites this year, but I think
they were down 3-1 to the Braves in the NLCS.
Right.
So Braves could close that out. You're not even talking about a Dodgers World Series.
Right. I think so many things can happen throughout the course of a baseball season anyway. That's less like football where you only have 16 games. So a lot of things can happen, and if this team does reach its potential, I think they'll be competitors.
I think they could give other teams fits too. I think they could really give, if their young guys are playing really well, I think they could give those veteran teams some fits, especially since the scouting reports, how accurate are they really? If pitchers can mix in their pitches, again, no video. That's not just from the Rangers perspective, but that's from all 30 teams have to deal with that. So I think they could give teams fits. And I think you kind of saw that last year. If the offense can get going, which it didn't, and who knows if that's because of the ballpark, who knows if that's just because the way things were up and down. I'm not saying that they're going to, even break 500, but I think they could give teams like the A's, the Astros, or even going looking at some of the teams in the AL East, some fits going in.
Yeah.
You never know.
I think they'll be very, very Ole Miss football-y. How they haven't been good in 8 years, but every game they give Alabama a nice little run for their money for 10 minutes.
The Atlanta Falcons of baseball. No, they don't. I don't know if that's.
That's a good comparison. As when they beat the Saints twice in the year they went to the NFC Championship. They shouldn't have lost to the Falcons.
They hung in one of their 2 meetings this year too.
They did, yeah. That's what makes games fun sometimes. You're not gonna win, but you're gonna have a good time. As a Pelicans fan, I can attest to that. It's not the Pelicans haven't been over 500 in 3 years. But I have a good time watching Zion.
Well, just for example, when you talk about teams that are heavily underdogs, just ask Jets fans.
Oof.
Jets fans going to the Rams.
No, Rangers fans don't want you to compare them to the Jets, I promise. Nobody wants to be compared to the Jets at all.
Hey.
That might be the Orioles. That might be the Orioles.
The Orioles? Trying to think. Well, I don't know. Maybe Pirates. No, not Pirates. I don't know. Maybe.
Pirates are pretty bad.
Pirates or Orioles or Rockies.
The Rangers don't have the lowest chances to make the playoffs this year. They have the 3rd lowest. I'm still
wondering how the Rockies have a better chance than the Orioles do. How did that happen?
I assume that had more to do with division than anything.
Division? in the same division with the Dodgers, you have a better chance to make the playoffs.
I don't know. I mean, okay, the Dodgers obviously like clinch. When you look at maybe a wild card spot, you're like,
Maybe.
okay, Dodgers, Padres. Who else is in that division?
But that's the thing. Like, I mean, oh, true. Like, who else outside of the Dodgers, Padres,
Diamondbacks? Sure.
I mean, I'm just looking at, you know, you got the Braves that are going to win the division. I don't know if the Mets are going to be what everybody says they're going to be. We're talking about the Mets.
No, I don't think the Mets are. I think the Braves are better than Mets still.
Yeah. And then in the Central, what is up with the Milwaukee Brewers? Why is everybody giving them
they're not very
division crowns?
They're not, like the Brewers are not very good right now.
All of the projections are having them either winning the division or being like 5-10 games over 500. And I'm just like what?
I don't know what's going on there, genuinely, because I don't see that. Maybe I don't look towards the Central enough to like know, but I just don't see how they have the best odds in that division, honestly.
I mean, Yelich played last year, and I know he wasn't good, but
he wasn't because he was on my fantasy team.
Sore subject, sorry. But yeah. I mean, like Cubs and Cardinals. Cardinals, I think, well, they'll probably be better than what they were projected a month ago. And then the Cubs are interesting.
I don't know. The Cubs also dealt like half their bullpen.
I know, that's the thing. Like,
I don't know what they were doing.
They were to me favorites about a month ago based on process of elimination.
Yes.
Before the Arenado trade.
Nobody in the Central was like trying to win the game. Like everybody was just trying not to lose. But nobody was actually doing anything until the Arenado deal. So it was just like nobody's gonna attempt. Like, what was the point of this? Why does this division exist if you're not gonna try to win?
Hey, I'll say this for the Cardinals. Like, hey, you know, you immediately. I mean, to me, the trade to Arenado just like you're now favorites to win the Central.
Oh yeah.
I mean that just gave you.
Like personally, that's what I would say.
But and then you look at the West, and it'll be interesting with the Rockies. Giants, Giants are, I don't know. Hey, bright side, if you're the Giants, now you're finished 4th instead of 5th.
Basically that's what it's gonna look
and
like.
Arizona is always intriguing. I feel like every year I never know
Genuinely, I think Arizona might be like the only team in like Major League Baseball where I can't name a player. Like
Ketel Marte.
Sure. Like I know there was a thing on like Baseball Tonight last season that was like a joke that was like name one Miami Marlin, and I was like I can name a Marlin, I can't name a D-back. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's a few that I can name on there, and who they signed just recently. It was a pretty big, not big name, but it was like a veteran. We were like, oh, okay, I didn't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but well, you're gonna have to for at least 4 games have to invest in the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll check back in.
Hit me up whenever that series is, and I'll let you know.
And then you have, of course, luckily this year it's just 3 against the Padres. I don't know if that's a good thing that it's here in Globe Life Field, or
I wanted to take a trip to San Diego, so that's all.
San Diego, San Francisco. Though San Francisco, I think, is early in the season, so there may not be fans. That'll be disappointing to the players.
I don't think we're traveling at all before the All-Star break. So,
nah. So I was hoping for Trevino because he was really disappointed in his first few games in San Francisco that he didn't get like the full San Francisco experience.
Yeah, I would have hated to make like so many guys made their major league debut last year, but I would have hated for that to be my debut.
I heard it was completely, I think Wes said this, it was completely quiet in Colorado. Like there was no crowd noise. Like they didn't do any like fake crowd noise.
I don't like
And
that.
he said it was like real weird. Like it felt like a spring training game.
No, that's
Then you could hear the guys in the bullpen talking about what they're going to have for dinner.
Oh, I don't like that at all. That's so weird. Like, why'd you do that? Just play some music or something.
That's the other thing. Like,
Always.
I'm real curious to see how a lot of these young players, so like a Kyle Cody or like a Wes Benjamin, how they fare when fans come in. Normally they're like, yeah, I like it. I know Woody said last year that it's like, be careful what you wish for. But I am curious to see like how they'll perform with or without. Like, I know the baseball atmosphere isn't as big as, because at the end of the day, you're still, if you're facing the Angels and you're facing Mike Trout, you're facing Mike Trout, whether there's fans or not. But I feel like there's a little bit eerie feeling when there's nobody, when you can't hear anything or you're not used to the crowd. So I kind of felt like you're making another major league debut.
Yeah, I would feel the same way. It's got to be like very different. And I know, like, I mean, guys who came from college, you know, may be different. But I mean, if you come from a school that's in LSU and Arkansas, a Mississippi State, I mean, you've played in front of big crowds for 4 years. But if you come from a school that's, you know, Rice, it might not, you know, be the same.
Throwing the USA teams under the bus.
I didn't mean to do that.
I don't care. UNT, North Texas doesn't even have a baseball. It's softball, so I'm not offended by that.
SEC propaganda. But like, I mean, my point is just still that, you know, if you play in college, you may not have ever played in front of a huge crowd. You know, some minor league teams have great crowds, some don't, and things like that. So for some of these guys, it's probably been a while since they've played in front of a huge crowd, especially the young guys where that really matters. So to come out, you know, sometime next season or even in 2022 when it's full, like to the brim, you're going to be like, oh, like that's a lot of people.
And then even in like spring training, you're getting your work in, at least in Surprise, you're getting 2,000 in. That's with the Royals, right? So like if the Rangers Royals games, if the Rangers are on the road, they'll still have a 2,000 crowd.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
I figured so, because that's mandated by the city and not so much the Rangers. I would assume that that's the case.
Well, yeah, I think the press release said City of Surprise, so that would make sense.
So that would be like Royals. So I don't know how the other locations are doing it, but I mean, at the very least, you're getting like 13 or 14, 15 games with you at least have people, assuming the others don't, which I think they may have. But
I think almost every stadium in the Cactus League is allowing fans, I think, just to different capacities.
Right.
From what I remember.
That makes sense. And it's Arizona too, so their rules are just like Texas and Florida.
If it doesn't exist, it's fake.
We've been saying that for 11 months? Oh my goodness, 11 months.
Quite a few months. It's been a while that
man.
Stuck in our houses and quarantining and all of that. So hopefully we can all get a vaccine soon. My mom got her second round the other day. My dad got his first. So, you know,
I'm halfway there.
Like, we are getting there. I'm the only person in my family who hasn't gotten a shot. So
I've got one more to go. So I don't know when that will be, but halfway there.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I can't wait to have a full ballpark, to go to a bar.
Just think about this as just like a distant memory, just like something that you sit down with your kids and just be like, yeah, remember that time? It was funny because when I was talking to Trevino and he's like, you know, they have these pictures that they'll have. So like Joey Gallo hitting the first homer at the new ballpark. And when you hit it, it's like, why is it empty?
Right.
It's empty.
Oh no, that's so
or you have like cardboard people.
The cardboard people is definitely going to be the weirdest part to look back on, I think. Like, personally, that's like, I get it, and it's like, it's cute, I guess, but it's also weird as hell.
You should have gotten the stuffed animal route.
One of the teams did that, huh?
I think the A's did that, and then I know the KBO did that.
Like, I don't even like, this is so weird. Like, it's so weird that we're just still like this is it. This is what we're doing. Like,
I'd just be so glad. Well, and they also gave all the cardboards back to the fans too, I'm pretty sure. So that hopefully that era is done and it's just bring in a select number of people. And I'm real curious to see how the volume's going to be. Just because it was relatively loud during the postseason. And even with like 11,000, to just think like to multiply it by 2 and you can get like 20 to 22,000, it's like, whoa, this place is going to be. And then just multiply that to like 40,000. You might have to invest in some earplugs too.
Dang, look. I mean, I guess I'm not a physics person at all, so I'm sure like it sounds different when it's closed versus when it's open, like the roof and all that. So I don't know, maybe that's a thing. They have so many day games this year when I was looking at the schedule, which was like, that's good for me. I love a day game. As a reporter, I think reporters always love it because I don't have to sit, in the press box until 1 a.m. As we've all done many of times. So I think that's going to be like interesting, especially when, you get to capacity and, how different it feels.
And just how the crowds are going to be during those day games, because with the roof closed, I mean, people are going to, I would assume that a bulk number of people are like, I'm not going because of the heat. I don't blame them. So the fact that you're going to have decent crowds on Sundays, you're going to have decent crowds on getaway days. I don't know how decent they're going to be because, again, they're still weekday afternoon games, but I think I would assume like a lot more than what they were having in the old place.
It was so hot. Like,
oh my gosh. Like,
Wes
Wes talked about that because he was they had in 2019 they had a doubleheader that they played. It was coincidentally, I think, the last doubleheader played at the old park. And he just talked about like how awful it was, like having to sit with like I think he had like a jacket or something, or it was, he just said it was just a miserable experience. And like when because in the alternate site at the old ballpark, he's like, look, we're not just trying to perform to get on the club. We're trying to perform so that we can practice in the new place and don't have to practice at the old place during the afternoon.
Look, I respect that high key. Like, because like, I mean, like I said, I'm from Louisiana. Like, I played softball my entire life. It's hot. Like I played softball in like, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, all the southern states where you're right up on the water and you have the humidity and the heat index ends up, being 110 and you're outside all day. Like, I don't know how I did that genuinely, because now as an adult, I walk outside degrees and I'm like, oh yeah, today's for inside. Like, honestly.
I know, and then I feel like we're all gonna be spoiled when we're going into the new, like that little in-between walk. We're just gonna be spoiled, like, oh, it's so hot. And then it's just like
it's not.
Or close the roof. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna have any like regulations of opening the roof, because I think the only roof open game that they had during the postseason was because it was like bad weather conditions. So I don't know early on in April if they're going to be opening it for COVID related. I don't even know how that physics works. I'm not a medical expert, and I don't play one on TV.
We'll let the medical experts handle the COVID questions.
Is it open or not? Okay, it's open. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would affects anything.
And you still get a good breeze when it's open too, so it's not like you're getting pure heat, and it's going to be April too. So
right, not going to be too bad.
It's not going to be awful. Yeah, so like Ranger fans, if you're wondering should I go or not only for the new ballpark, but it's like, oh, if the roof's open, it's not going to be too bad.
Right. Like I can't imagine it would be too bad, honestly.
No, and especially like if the sun goes down, sun's going to go down at like 7, so for like a night game, or like 8, I think. So for a night game, like you're only going to be in the sun for like 30, 40 minutes. So
not too bad.
I will take that. And for anybody that's complaining, just pre-2020,
Yeah, y'all can go sit out at the other ballpark.
Go to the other ballpark, sit out there for 3 hours. Let me know how that turns out. Just like the people from the north that were complaining about the cold here. I'm like, okay, do you have your heat on?
Right.
Yes. Then turn it off and then call me in the morning and see how you feel.
Northerners are so holier than thou about their weather. Like, I didn't decide to live above the Mason-Dixon. That was you.
And the other thing is that yeah, I mean the heat and humidity, like for us, everybody in the north is like, oh, 90 degrees is warm. It's like that's heaven.
That's good. Right.
That's
like
heaven.
I'll take 90 genuinely.
Oh yeah. I mean, under 32 is cold. I get that, but I don't complain about it.
Oh no, I hate cold weather. I'll complain about it for sure.
Okay. Then I guess it's good that if you're not going to the Kansas City trip.
Oh yeah, definitely for the best. I'm not going to Kansas City. I'll stay in Texas for sure.
Or like any of the northern ones. San Francisco, when I went to night games, you gotta bundle up those night games.
I guess whenever Seattle's probably fucking cold too.
Seattle, yes. Boston had 2 warm days and 1 cold day when I went last. Cincinnati was just humid.
Yeah, like I said, not a fan of cold weather. Like I'll deal with it. I'll put on a cute coat, but
those lakefronts are awful. So whatever they call it, Oracle Park in San Francisco, and then Wrigley Field. Yeah, that's pretty treacherous.
Yeah, I know. I have a friend who goes to Northwestern, out in Evanston, outside of Chicago. It's like it's freezing.
And especially now with all the snowfall that's happening that they still continue to get.
Right.
Take that. So where do you see this team? Like, what's some of the things that you're kind of, I don't want to say looking for, but at the end of the season, make a couple of bold predictions.
Bold predictions. I don't even what's bold for this team, because like
what is bold?
Because I don't know. I feel like right now, 2021 as we are, this team seems, what you see is what you get. Like I said, there's potential, but you're not sure how it's gonna play out. I don't know if this is bold. I think I expect Joey Gallo to bounce back at the plate, and I think I would bet on him being an all-star again. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's bold. Because
is he on the club on August 1st?
I say yes. We can revisit this if I'm wrong. But
I don't have enough memory on my computer to navigate every time I was wrong, so don't worry about it.
No, yeah, I think Joey's still going to be here. And like I said, I think he'll be another all-star. And I mean, if he's an all-star, maybe his trade value goes up again, and they can deal him. But I'm not sure they're gonna, like you said, hang the bait out again. We'll talk about that. And I think, again, I don't think this is like bold. Like I think Josh Young is gonna make a debut at some point. Maybe in July, August area. I don't think that's bold though. I think everybody's kind of expecting that.
August 1st, when you make those deals and you may open up some roster space, that could be a time where you just bring them up.
Right. No,
does Ronald Guzman, is he on the roster? Let's just say August 1st. I mean, I would think even earlier, because eventually with the competition at first, I don't think he has any options. So it's basically make the club or you're done.
Right. In my opinion, I think I wrote this in my season, my opening day predictions, that I think Nate Lowe is going to be the first baseman. I think he's going to edge him out a bit there. Like we said, he did great in this Dominican Winter League. Maybe he brings that over stateside. And I mean, if he does, great. But I think he's got to show that somehow. And I'm not sure he'll be able to edge out Nate Lowe at first base.
You think he has some trade value that you may be able to get, or do you think that they'll get, he'll go on waivers and go right back to the team? I've heard rumors around like Detroit, Milwaukee I mean, this isn't like from team sources. This is just kind of outside, but like I've heard that there could be teams that may be interested.
Well, I'm not sure what the return would be. Like I said, I think he has to, if he puts up a suitable fight in spring training and maybe, the first few months of the season, maybe. But my first thought, I didn't even think about trade value before you asked it, honestly. My first thought was, put him on waivers and
just go through the process, see what happens.
Yeah.
Do both Lowe and Guzman, like you're saying, if like Guzman's playing well and Lowe's playing well, do you see a scenario where they're both on the roster and Lowe goes to third? It's kind of like a back and forth on there. On the one hand, it's like, no, we don't want Lowe to play third, but then it's like and then I know Woody said a couple days ago that like Guzman may, if he's open to playing another position,
I mean, I'm not Woody and I'm not JD or, CY, but I just don't see how that would play out, especially when you look at some of the other competitions. And when you look at, again, the pitching staff, do you want to have one extra position player? Do you want to have one extra arm out of the bullpen? I think this year they need to have an extra arm out of the bullpen instead of an extra position player on the bench. And I personally don't see a situation where they're both on the roster. Maybe they are. But I think it's when you look at the third base competition, I'm not sure one of them would beat out the people over there. Because then
like they all have to fail in order to. It's kind of like what I said about Josh Jung before the confirmation that he wasn't going to be in the big leagues. I said the only option Jung gets is if everybody in that competition fails and Jung does amazing, then you ease him in. I feel like that's the same way. Everybody else, and I'm saying like Holt, Culberson, Odor, everybody has to have bad springs, and Lowe and Guzman have to have good springs in order for that scenario to even, I don't even say like will happen, but just even the thought of that happening.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how Odor is going to do at third. He's never played there. I think Culberson's been pretty much a career backup for the most part. And I think Brock Holt has some more starting experience and could, slide him in there. It'll definitely be interesting. I think the corners are the most kind of up in the air positions for the most part. And, it could go either way.
And then second base, Solak and Odor. That's
that too.
Intriguing as well.
I personally think Solak has got that, honestly. I don't want to say for sure, but I just don't see many possibilities where
I think for the merits of last year, the success that he had, and I know the success wasn't like through the roof, but it was good success that he had. I think that earns him sort of the same, not quite the same as Isaiah Connor-Falefa at short, but I think enough to where he has the edge over Odor. And again, if Solak completely fails in spring and Odor completely succeeds, then I think you tempt that. And then that brings third base interest in. Who knows? Maybe Solak you can. I mean, he's versatile. I don't know how much. I don't know how much time, if ever, he's played at third. But if that's a possibility, versatility is big on this club.
Yeah, and I think Woodward has pointed that out multiple times. How I think that's one of the most important things for him when looking at roster makeup.
And I agree. I think because it not only, it gives you a lot of options, and that can be a headache at times, but I think it also gives you a lot of options to where you can get guys the necessary time that you need to. And even the guys that have set spots, Gallo, Kiner-Falefa, they can play other positions.
Right, if necessary.
But they've earned where they're at right now. Jose Trevino can play first base. He did it for one inning last year, so
I also played first base for 1 inning in like youth softball, and I hated it. But if that's what they need, like at this point, if that's what you need to succeed, then hey.
The only difference is he used Todd Frazier's glove, I believe, and Frazier's not here anymore. So I don't know if Guzzi or Lowe would allow him to borrow a first baseman's mitt, or I don't know, maybe Joey still has one.
Oh, he did play a couple games there. I saw that on his baseball reference page earlier.
I mean, he was a tall first baseman, so that was pretty. He played third base when he came up, which is, kind of surprising to see how much as far as the hot corner. The Rangers' third base competition has been real interesting ever since Beltre left, because you've had deals with 1-year guys, as in Asdrubal Cabrera in 2019, and then you go last year, you have Todd Frazier, who signed originally as a third baseman, and then because of Kiner Falefa's success, move him over to first. So third base has been the mystery for year 3 now.
Yeah, I think if I'm the Rangers, which I'm not, obviously, I just cover the team, but like you let the third base thing play out as it is, this year, and hopefully you sign Trevor Story next offseason and move
Isaiah back to third.
Like that's what I would bank on. I'm not gonna lie. But there's probably a reason I'm not running a Major League Baseball franchise. So I'll let Chris Young handle all that jazz. But the third
and even some of the pieces they have in the organization, I don't know, maybe Colorado could use, but that could be a possibility. But I don't know. The Rockies already had a questionable deal in 1 year. I don't know if they want to make that a annual type thing.
Well, Story's a free agent next
Free
year.
agent, yeah.
So you can't really do anything about that unless they want to trade him and
trade him at the deadline.
Yeah, if they want to get something back for him, which they barely got anything back for Arenado. So unless the front office, figures themselves out, who knows?
That would be. I was just thinking there. This would never happen, but like a Joey Gallo for Trevor Story and pieces mixed in.
Oh,
so
God.
you would have Gallo go to Colorado, where David Dahl was not tendered, and now Dahl's with the Rangers, a team that traded Gallo.
Oh God, that would be an interesting type of a very interesting deal.
Oh yeah, but I'm just messing around on there. The odds of that happening. I mean, if that happens, I don't even know what I would do if that.
I tell you to play the lottery if that happened. Like, just like
I'm saving this to be sure if it does happen. Like, guys, February 22nd, 5+ months early, called it. I don't know why the Rockies would be interested in Joey Gallo, but I don't know why the Rockies would trade Nolan Arenado for what they got back. So
yeah, so I don't know what the Rockies front office.
I've stopped questioning my sanity towards the Denver market.
For the best, it's probably for the best.
It's for the best. It's probably for the best. Kennedi, appreciate the time, and this is going to be. We're getting close. We've got 6 days until the first spring training game. Oh my gosh.
We got some baseball.
Shortened spring training too. So less than a month. And then you have, is it less than a month or is it exactly a month? They play a couple of exhibition games against the Brewers at Globe Life Field.
In late March, yes. I think it's like the 27th and 28th or something.
Okay. Yeah, so about a month of spring training in Arizona. And then opening day on the first day of April at Kansas City. And then the home opener 4 days later against the Toronto Blue Jays, which probably means the first batter that the Rangers will face at home in their ballpark, George Springer.
I'm sure they're going to love that. I'm sure they'll love it.
With fans. The first visitor batter that fans get to see, George Springer.
Just same person, different font, basically.
Yep. Hopefully not the same result.
We can only hope.
We'll see. We'll see. If you want to follow Kennedi on Twitter, You can follow her at Ken Landry. That's KENNLANDRY. TexasRangers.com. She's going to have that covered all season long and for God knows how long. Because again, like we said, as youngsters, we got this.
I got it.
We got it. You follow me on Twitter at aPlinkTX, on Instagram at aPlinkTEX for Rangers coverage. You can go to DallasSportsFanatic.com/Texas-Rangers. We're getting close. Surprise, Arizona. Everybody's there. Everybody that will be on the diamond is there. Let's rephrase that. We're not here. We're not there. So not everybody is. Not yet. Kennedy, appreciate the time as always. And I'm sure that this won't be the only time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.